Good evening and welcome to tonight's webinar. My name is Amy Gruber and I'm Director of Enrollment Management and Marketing at TASIS Portugal. And tonight it is our pleasure to have three representatives from the TASIS Parent Association, the TPA. We are very, very fortunate at TASIS to have an incredibly involved group of parent volunteers. And I would consider all of them to already be friends. In fact, if I called any one of our TPA members and said, I need your help, I have complete confidence that they would rush to whatever location we were at and pitch in, because they've already done that tremendously. They're huge supporters of the school, faithful attendees of Coffee with Keith. So this is an interesting evening for them to be in the hot seat tonight as Keith's special guests. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Keith. But as always, I encourage you to put your questions in throughout the webinar so that we can pose them at the end. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Amy, and welcome back everyone to episode 23 of Coffee with Keith. My name is Keith Castronecto, Headmaster at TASIS Portugal, and I hope this finds you all well and safe. As Amy mentioned, tonight we have a special treat for you. We're hosting three lively leaders of our TASIS Parent Association, who I will introduce shortly. However, before I do that, I want to congratulate a TASIS parent, Audrey Besson Levine, for her outstanding presentation last night. The inaugural episode of the TASIS Parent Education Committee, in case you missed it, Parenting During a Pandemic, was featured last evening and is recorded as a webinar. On that note, one of our loyal founding parents, Bruno, emailed me to say he thought Audrey's webinar was much better than Coffee with Keith. And of course, that's a statement I have no reason to contest. Bruno also wondered if we might be able to host something for Friday date nights as well. We'll work on that, Bruno. Others commented that I should hire Audrey and Nafi's hair and makeup stylist. Point taken. Although I'm not sure I could keep up with these two lovelies, even with the makeup artist from the Joker movie. On the other hand, it seems my push-up challenge is gaining traction on social media, and we now have many videos of your children cranking out reps, or as the Brits call them, doing press-ups. You know, as is the nature of social media, a few trolls provided some negative commentary you might be interested in. For example, one wrote, "You'd think a former math teacher could count to 40. Took that personally. Another accused me of splicing film footage together of doing push-ups over successive days, noting that I was wearing different shoes between push-up 20 and 21. We'll have to revisit the tape on that. Others, probably one of our parent doctors, suggested that my unusually short arms gave me an unfair advantage. And lastly, one student who noted if they'd had 58 years to practice, they certainly would have done more than 100. But as Audrey acknowledged last night, this is the world in which we now live. Alas, you don't have to leave the house to receive criticism these days, though, do you? It was remarkable that last night's moderator admitted to acknowledging that she was wrong and her husband was right. I'm not sure about you, but it sounded like a very painful admission. Ron J., you might want to write that down somewhere. In my household, such a revelation has never been uttered. In fact, if we have time, I'd like to tell you a story. You see, it was Christmas about 15 years ago when I received a present from my beloved that will forever go down in our family's holiday lore. Like some of you, I have an aversion to raw wool. I just cannot wear it. Probably because I'm such a sensitive person. So of course, the present I received was a lovely sweater made of the pickiest wool you could imagine. It was more like a hair shirt or a cloak of stinging nettle. Now, I know many of you out there are thinking, who would give, knowingly, such an awful present? In any case, after trying the gift on, and being overcome with an urge to jump off a bridge, I said, I just cannot wear this. So of course, 15 years on, every Christmas in my household, without fail, the story must be retold of what an ungrateful recipient of gifts Dad is. So with that in my trunk, fast forward to this Christmas. Apparently, my wife does not subscribe to the growth mindset that Audrey mentioned in her webinar. Or she gave me another wool sweater. Yes, this one a turtleneck sweater, or as the Portuguese call it, camisola de gola alta, which incidentally pleases me to know that in this country I can openly wear a camisole without rebuke. So I put this sweater on just today, you know, to provide evidence of my heartfelt appreciation. And I was greeted by my wife on the way out the door, said giver of unpleasant garments, and she said, and I quote, "Are you planning to wear that today during the webinar?" To which I replied, surprisingly, "Yes, why wouldn't I, my peach?" She responded, "I just don't like it. It's very 70s. A decade, by the way, in which I was only a child. And then to add further insult, she pressed, "And are you going to shave for the webinar, please?" Now, I tell you these stories merely to acknowledge that this pandemic has been hard on all of us. Families, children, marriages, and therefore, again, as our parent speaker advised last night, if you occasionally harbor less than favorable thoughts about a family member, don't let it bother you too much. Take Audrey's advice, which I did, and give yourself some space and time, and then see if there's a compromise solution. So I changed the sweater. Let's see how long it takes me to find my razor. Now, since we're discussing parent involvement, I want to recognize that some parents have already been contributing. In fact, contributing to our academic program. For example, as I mentioned last week, Anna Nadal is starting her after-school book club. By the way, if you have interest in reading, you might want to join that club. And if you have no interest in reading, well, let's hope you can make a career as a video gamer. Also, Thomas Battistini, famous restaurateur, which is a fittingly French word, helps with our after-school cooking club. Natasha Petringa, otherwise known as Rocket Mom, runs our high-flying rocketry club. And Carolina Heller volunteered to help with our pre-K yoga, even though her children, Lucas and Arthur, are in 6th grade. And Mercedes San Pedro helped with rock climbing. No fatalities to date. Sorry, would have been funnier had I not messed that up. Juan Carmona, artist and creative director at the studio, has offered recently to discuss design and advertising with our middle school art classes. And I mean, with a name like Juan Carmona, what else could you be but an artist? Or a bullfighter, or perhaps a gypsy. And a special shout out to Filipa Almeida, owner of Nanny Portugal, possibly married to a bullfighter, who, at her own expense, provided help in the form of a nanny to one of our single parent teachers who was struggling to balance her own young children while teaching yours. That was exceedingly generous and very much appreciated. And now, on to the main event. The TASIS Parent Association has a storied history at all other TASIS schools. We have equally high expectations for our TPA, and we were delighted to attract so many dedicated people to our committees in the first year. This is not a political committee. They don't exist to deal with complaints. They are a get to work, get her done, no nonsense group of professionals looking to make TASIS the best school community in the country. And what a start they've had. During the pandemic, I might add, a phrase I hope never to have to repeat. Here's the short list of their activities today. Decorating the school for our Halloween party, decorating for our December holiday performances, convincing many of you and themselves to provide an endless supply of gourmet snacks for our faculty and staff during parent-teacher conferences, spearheading and supporting all efforts to help the local community, such as the drive to collect sleeping bags, providing very generous gifts for every single member of the faculty and staff from the parent body at Christmas. That was a big one. Referring new families and students to TASIS. And we even accepted a few of them. Speaking to prospective families about their experience, without disparaging comments about the headmaster. Supporting our families through these difficult times with advice, friendship, and information. Additionally, running book clubs, recording read alouds, helping organize books in the Learning Commons, volunteering to help with clubs, assisting with planning for our yet-to-be makerspace and robotics lab, and last night, presenting our first Parent Education Committee sponsored webinar. I tell you, if I could afford you, I'd hire you all. Although, as my wife reminds me, it's not that fun working for me. So let's meet the 4 parent volunteers, shall we? Sorry, tonight it's 3. It was to be 4, and I'll explain that shortly. First, our TPA president, Juka de Roos Schweitzer, a local realtor and mother of Jonathan in grade 7. In fact, Juka is responsible for TASIS having a 7th grade this year. She is very familiar with international schools, having moved to Portugal as a young child in 2010. I could have that date slightly wrong. And attended both Kazel and St. Dominic's. After that, and because of her reputation at those schools, Juka enrolled her children at IPS. Juka was very involved as a parent at IPS, and I know the school misses her. She and Limor also have an older daughter who attends St. Julian's, although I understand it is against the child's will. Number 2, Rita de Castronecto, chair of the Mascot committee, mother of Mateus in grade 1. Her other children also attend St. Julian's because there was no TASIS. Rita is very involved and very connected in the local community. Rita and her husband Alex live in the most beautiful old quinta in the hills of Sintra, with spectacular views of the ocean and Montserrat Palace. It is absolutely lovely, and I'm hoping to be invited there one day. And third, Nafi Asrani, co-chair, Parent Education Committee and moderator extraordinaire, mother of Sasha, Sophia, and Senna. She and Ranjay are new to Portugal, arriving from South Africa in August, and returning to South Africa, and now traveling to Dubai. One might wonder if they're escaping the law. Rafi's husband, Ranjay, graduated, by the way, from TASIS England. And interestingly, I've seen his yearbook filled with inspirational words from many adoring young women. I'm guessing Nafi doesn't often let him out of her sight. Not with us, but was scheduled to be is our Vice President of the TASIS Parent Association, Laura Allard, mother of Max in grade 7. Laura co-owns the responsibility for launching TASIS grade 7 class this year, and I really blame her the most. Also a graduate of international schools in Belgium, Laura returned to Portugal as an adult. It's important for Laura to give her son the same experience she had. By the way, Max couldn't join us either this evening because he's very busy in training for his push-up competition with the headmaster when he returns. All right, I'm going to, as normal, ask a few questions, and we're going to ask one or all of the volunteers to help us out with their answers. They're mostly softballs, so I think we're going to enjoy the evening. Please curate your own questions for them. And usually at this time, our moderator, Amy Gruber, interrupts me to say something.
No, you're on a roll, so I wouldn't possibly interrupt this, except for the fact that you called Nafi Rafi once.
Yeah, well, I won't do that again, will I? All right. TPA. And why don't we start with Juka, because that's the order which I introduced you. Please, Juka, talk about why you, and of course we'll ask the other members as well, why you volunteered to join the TPA and what your vision is for the TASIS Parent Association as the school matures.
Well, I was joined at gunpoint. No, all kidding aside. I joined the school, you know, again, like I've said before, it was a journey, and it was a journey to convince Keith and Amy and the TASIS board to launch a grade 7, because there wasn't going to be a grade 7. And I've always had a good relationship with all the schools that my kids have attended. And for me, it was important to do the same with TASIS. And as it's a new school, I think it's super important that we create a community of like-minded people, of people that want to be involved in the school, that we create a partnership between the school, the kids, the parents, and so forth. So this year is a strange year. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're trying to launch a TPA, which I've never done before. None of the people that have joined me on the committee have done that. It's fun, it's different. We have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of things that we want to do. Unfortunately, our hands are slightly tied, but I mean, I was very impressed with the list that Keith just read out of all the things that we have done to date, and things that we will be doing, and hopefully we will have some live events, and then we'll follow up on that further on in the conversation. But if we can just get it off the ground and running for the first year, i.e. next September onwards, properly, then I think I've done with the team the job that we have set out that we will do.
Thank you, Juka. I'll ask the same question. Please talk about why you volunteered to join the TPA and what your vision is for the TPA as the school matures. I guess we'll go in the same order I introduced you. So Rita, please. Oh, we're muted, I think. I'm not sure if John can.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry. I was saying good evening. Thank you for having the privilege to be with you here with this great panel. Juka is very inspiring, Nafi as well. We all know, we love your jokes. I forgot to mention it on the survey, but next time I will. So joining the TPA. It started as a joke because I loved the idea of the mascots, remember? And I used to email Amy making comments on the Agia Bonelli, the eagle, Bonelli that we have in Sintra, and then the Iberian lynx, and then the knights, of course, that was the choice of Mateus. And then Amy so kindly invited me, oh, you're so enthusiastic about the mascots, don't you want to join the committee? And so I did. And now I'm also on the charity committee, which is the one that, in fact, I expect the most, and I think we all can do great things. And I feel that all of us in the TASIS community, and especially our children, we're all very privileged to be in a school like this and to have the lives we have, and we should be grateful. But Portuguese reality is quite different from that. And the pandemic even brought that even more. And sometimes when I see my kids complaining about this e-learning school and all this, we're so privileged because it's not a question of having or not having the computer. We're talking about children that sometimes don't have anyone to stay with them at home. They don't have the food to eat because it's the school that provides. And it's not just having the computer, it's having the internet to connect to the school, having a parent to help using the computer. So it's so different from the reality where we live that it's also important to show that to children. So I think we can do many great things on the charity committee and help many others because we're so blessed. Besides that, I think I expect a lot from the TASIS community, the parent association, because I find you, TASIS, you are so inspiring. At least I was so inspired when I got the privilege to know you and to know the school values and to have the privilege of talking with you and get to know you and Fernando. And it's such a great spirit. And I think we're going to have so many beautiful events. And I feel that we are all eager to be friends. And the pandemic even, I think it makes us more eager to do so. So all the events that are being planned are going to be amazing, and we're going to do a beautiful school and a wonderful community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're always so graceful and honest, and you know, a lot of people have told me they don't appreciate my sense of humor, but because you do, I'm going to continue with it. And I agree. We're looking forward to many, many beautiful events at your home. And lastly,
okay.
that you referred to, the results were so positive that we don't think we're going to risk ever having another survey. So we won't comment on that. But thank you very much. We're going to ask Nafi the same question. Now, Nafi, my apologies if I called you by any other name, but Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, thank you. It's absolutely fine. And often when you mix up my names, it's because of my multiple identities that I use in different countries. So it's probably not your mistake. I probably slipped up somewhere.
Good.
Keith, I am involved in the TPA because I really believe in creating my own reality. And to the extent that it's possible, I like to curate the environment that my children and I live in. School makes up probably about 60% of my children's education. So naturally, I like to have a hand in anything that has such a large impact on them. I am a very opinionated person, but I like my opinions to come from an informed position. And the only way to truly be informed is to be involved. The only valuable comments are the ones that are researched and that are really understanding of the various dynamics that are at play. And so that I believe that being involved puts me in a really good position to be able to say what I want and what I think, but from a place where I'm not just blowing hot air. There's a saying that the rector at our old school used to use a lot, and he used to refer to a child's education as a three-legged pot. One being the child, one being the parent, and the other being the school. And he used to always remind us that if any of those legs is wanting, then this pot is going to tumble over. And I think that my involvement in the school is for me to ensure that my foundation is strong, my leg is there. And by being accessible to the school, to the teachers, all I'm doing is creating a stronger foundation for my children. Now, if you ask my husband why I volunteer, he would say it's because I'm a control freak and I want to make sure everything goes exactly how I like it.
I can't believe anybody would say that about you. But now it makes sense when you make that reference, because in our last meeting, when you threatened to have my legs broken, it was purely a euphemism for a stool. So now I get it. I appreciate it much more. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to go in reverse order. Nafi, you're going to be first, if that in fact is your name. Please describe the community at TASIS so far.
Well, I probably think if we took a snapshot of this moment in time, the community is probably incredibly frustrated. That's not so much to do with, in fact, nothing to do with TASIS, but probably a lot to do with, you know, the homeschooling environment and the way things are at the moment. But seriously, I think we have really got off to a good start. I really feel that there's a very warm and enthusiastic parent body out there. I don't think that we've been able to get engagement to the extent that we want to, because we're limited in the way that we can interact with each other. But I think there's so much potential, and especially because a lot of us, I don't know the exact figure, but so many of us are new to Portugal, that just glues us together a little bit better.
Fantastic, thank you, Nafi. Rita, you've lived most, if not all of your life in this country, so for you it's a slightly different perspective, but you've also been at a number of other schools.
Yes, yes, I've lived all my life in Portugal, and I hope to continue doing so. But what I feel, and I think you at TASIS, I feel a sense of belonging already, and it has just started. This idea, you made us all founding parents, and I thought that's such a lovely idea, and that bonds us in the beginning, and it's something that we will continue to have throughout our kids, throughout their school life. But like Nafi mentioned, there are many that I don't know, and I think most of the parents, we don't know each other very much. Many of us don't know each other. Only now with the e-learning lessons, I'm putting some faces to the kids that even Mateus used to mention, and I think many parents probably feel that. Sometimes our kids come home and speak about some friend, and we still can't put faces to names. So like. We are all eager to be together. So I feel that the parents of TASIS will create a very good community. At least that's what I feel, even now that we don't know each other.
I think we all share that sentiment. Thank you very much, Rita.
You're welcome.
Now, Juka, you're one of the more connected people in the community because of your occupation. It's part of what you do, but also by your very nature. So maybe you can comment on the community parents, many of whom you knew before you came to TASIS.
Well, listen, TASIS has, I think it's about 30%, incoming new parents, and the rest were parents that have already been in Portugal. But from the parents that have already been in Portugal, probably a large percentage, I don't know the number, are still international parents, i.e., I consider myself a local, but my husband, is a foreigner. And so you then do tend to mix in those circles and get to know one another. And I think even more so when your kids are smaller and start going to school, you get to know parents in the playground, at drop-off, you start conversations with them. And I think TASIS has already created a sense of belonging. And I think parents are eager to take it to the next level in the sense of having events, having, get-togethers. The educational committee has done an event. The parents welcoming committee would like to do things. So I think there is a lot of need and want for people to connect. And that is just, from the school tends to be that community that you get that involvement from. And from there, you meet other people. Of course, I have my friends from growing up, because I am a local, and Rita will have her friends from, growing up and living in Portugal her whole life. That's only normal. But I do think through your kids, you meet new friends, and I think that's only normal. And even in the grade 7, that Jonathan is in, yes, there is parents that I know, and there is new parents. And you get drawn to the parents that your kids are hanging out with, and you chat to them, and is your son okay? How is your kid, your daughter finding this? You get a community spirit through the WhatsApp groups, through the communication that's going on. So
Juka, just to clarify a rumor for me. When you are showing new families to Portugal accommodation, beautiful homes, is it true that you only show TASIS families the nice ones?
Of course.
This is being recorded, just so you know. All right, thank you, Juka. You all brought something up that is very important, and obviously is a huge elephant in the room. None of us intended to start a school in a pandemic. When we looked at this property and when we envisioned this school, they were in better times. Amy and I have both had the opportunity to be at many, many schools, and I've had the unique opportunity to be at another startup school, plus a school that was only 6 years old when I joined it. And what I loved about those schools and what made them very, very different than many more established schools is that the parent body wasn't only appreciated, they were essential to the existence and development and culture of the school. And that's how we feel about our parents right now, not just the parents who are volunteering in the TPA. All of our parents are essential to our existence and our prosperity and us continuing to grow as a school. From what you give to us, but also from the word of mouth that you give to others about us. And so we certainly expected to have people in our school, in our corridors, at our sporting events, at our artistic events. We had a plan for that. And we're as heartbroken as anyone that we haven't been able to execute that plan in the short term. But we're confident and optimistic that we will have that opportunity before long. At the latest, we hope, next August. So I want people to understand that this is not a pleasurable experience for us to keep parents at bay or insist that they stay in the parking lot or on the roadside at drop off and pick up. We'd like nothing more to have people involved. And the few parents that have been able to get involved have added tremendous value. That is by being in the school. Many of you have added tremendous value without being in the school, but by being in the school. So we're really looking forward to that. And we're expecting to have many, many of you more involved with our community personally than currently. However, that leads into question number 3, which is, something I refer to as our partnership with parents, and Nafi referred to it at a previous school. It's truly the best educational outcomes for your children result from the partnership and communication between parents and the school. And so my question to you is, so far, I guess, considering the pandemic, how has that been for you as parents, and are there areas we could improve on? And I see Nafi raising her hand, so we're going to start with her.
So Keith, in my personal perspective, I consider your approach on partnership with the school very strong. But of course, I'm on the TPA, so the answer might be very different from another person, another parent who's out there who's not as involved as I am. But what I feel really strongly about, Keith, is that partnerships work both ways. It's not just about the school reaching out to us. It's equally about the extent to which we lean into the school. I think that the school's effort to bond with us, if I can use that word, through the weekly newsletters, through these amazing Coffee with Keith episodes, through the flow of communication that we send through our strong group of class reps, I think that that really shows the school reaching out. Now, the level of engagement thereafter is up to the parent. If the parent chooses to lean in and say, okay, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to read every newsletter, I'm going to fill in every survey, I'm going to give my feedback, I'm going to, get involved in any way I can, then we will be so strong and, we will just prosper. But the fact is, in my opinion, Keith, you can take us parents to water, but you can't force us to drink. And that's where the difference is, okay, you offer your hand to us, are we taking it? Are we grabbing it and running? So I just feel like that's a really important point for me to make. So because it's so easy to sit on the sidelines and say, oh, X, Y, Z, but you've got to look at our level of engagement as well. With regards to areas to improve, I think one thing that could be really interesting, and I'm not sure Amy maybe does already have a snapshot of this, but understanding the professions of our founding families and where those expertise lie. Often, we don't even know there's a question until we have an answer sitting in front of us. And if we really understood, if we had a database of who is in our parent body, then, we would have access to all of this expertise, hopefully on a complementary basis, and we would be able to find ways in which the parents can get more involved. I know you've got your green project, the parents who are helping you with the landscaping, but there might be things that, like I say, we don't even know we need them until a parent steps forward and says, well, I do this, and you think, wow, that could be brilliant. So I think that's a really good way to foster a further degree of parent involvement.
That's a very good point, Nafi. And in fact, when you bring up the Green and Landscape Committee, it's not just parents. There's actually a grandparent on that committee. So that extends the family even further, which we're pleased about. I would hasten to mention that Bruno is also on that committee. And just to respond to your comment, I really like the way you framed that. If we can bring a parent to water, but we can't make them drink. And I think, honestly, though, in many cases, whether we take them to water or not, our parents are drinking. So I think Juka is next.
I think, Nafi said it very well. And I do think as well, Keith has reached out on various occasions and said, I need help with the following. And, somebody from the TPA has been able to point him in the right direction, or to say, maybe this parent can help you out. Again, I think it's amazing to hear that Juan has offered to come in and help grade 7 students, and I can't wait, for things to be back to normal and to potentially even organize field trips to his gallery in Lisbon, or maybe to have, you know, some sort of if there's an artist, you know, in the school that would like to exhibit their work, put them in touch with Juan and do something through that. And then, you know, somehow TASIS becomes involved as well. Again, you know, the opportunities are endless. If we want to be involved, if parents want to be involved, and I think they do, I think there is a lot of parents that want to be involved, and you will always have some that are just very happy to sit by and attend an event once in a while and not be too involved, and that's okay as well. You know, it takes all sorts of people to make a school go round, and again, it's that thing of a partnership, and I think it's being done very well.
Thank you, Juca. I've heard from a number of families who are new to Portugal that they really want to develop social networks. And of course, it's been very challenging because for many new parents, you would develop those through your school and through your children, through sport, through other activities. In the absence of those, of course, it's been very challenging for a lot of families to really connect. So we're looking forward again to being able to host people here, not just for the benefit of the school, but for the benefit of our families to connect with one another. And I think there's a lot of families looking forward to that, and it's not because they haven't wanted to be involved. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next question. I'm gonna skip that one. So, and honestly, this is to be an honest reprisal of our performance to date. But what has your child's own experience been like at TASIS? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Oh, Juki, you jumped in really quickly there. Yeah, you're muted, sorry.
Let Rita go first. She raised her hand at the same time.
Rita, sorry.
Ah, go ahead. Thank you. So I don't have ugly. Well, my son didn't never mention ugly. The little bad things, you solved it really quick. The good one, and the one that I would like to highlight, it's the kindness, because Mateus, and I feel that from other children that are his colleagues as well, and that I already have the privilege to have been with. He highlights the kindness and how love, the expression he uses, and I'm going to repeat it. These are not my words, are his words. Is that the teachers are lovely and are kind, and they have patience. And now this one, Amy, this one is for you, because also his words, he says, Miss Gruber is the loveliest of them all, because he's always helping everyone. So this is what I would like to highlight in case of my child experience, is how happy she feels and how loved she feels. And 2 days ago, when I already knew that I was going to be on this coffee with you, Keith, I read on one of these social medias, one of those stories. The highlight was a sentence from Aristotle that said, "You can't teach the mind unless you teach the heart," and you are in fact teaching the heart. And so we are all going to accomplish great things at the school.
Thank you, Rita, and I believe you're absolutely right. I've been talking about this for a year now, but we have phenomenal teachers who are kind, patient, knowledgeable, and really committed to the success of kids. So I'm glad that Mateus recognizes that. Are you sure, however, that he didn't say Amy's husband is the loveliest?
No, but he did say that Mr. Chiquan was also nice.
I think you're making that up now.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
But I do.
Because I asked.
Juka?
So I'll just give a little bit of a background to my statement. In January, grade 7 decided to have a Zoom session whereby we had feedback. And we wanted to give feedback because we wanted to be able to give some direction as to how grade 7 is doing and how things are going. And we had this session on, I believe it was a Wednesday. And on Friday, we had drafted the notes that we sent out to all the parents at the weekend to review, to come back on Sunday night. And on Monday morning, we sent you an email. Never in our wildest dreams thinking that we would have feedback that same afternoon. And that goes to say something. You took time out from your day to reply to us. And you didn't just reply to one question. No, you addressed every single item on our list. And yes, you know, of course, besides putting the points in there that were not even bad, it was just, you know, what about this? What about that for next year? We also put in the fact that, and one statement that one parent said, and I've used it time and time again because I think it's so applicable to Jonathan. He said, my daughter has gone from surviving to thriving. And that describes Jonathan down to a T. But it wasn't only Jonathan. All the parents just raised their hand in that meeting and said, oh my God, that is exactly how it is at the moment. And when you've seen your child being happy at one school and then leaving that school and going to another school, and him not being happy in that school for a year, and then taking him out of that environment that, you know, it was hard. It was not an easy, it was a process that I had to work through with Jonathan to take him away from his friends and put him in TASIS, well, to convince TASIS to open a grade 7 and then put him in there. And then to see how happy he is, how much he loves going to school, how, you know, it's the little things, you standing at the door, welcoming kids in the morning together with Erica. And one morning, Erica saying, Jonathan, do you want to put your bags down and help out? And him just doing that and helping out, opening doors, saying hi to kids. You know, him helping the little kids at lunchtime. It's little things like that, that you foster a community, that you foster a spirit. So I don't think that there is anything bad. I think there was more, it's more been a matter of, oh, we've said some things to you, you came back with feedback. And again, it's that form of, we're a community, we're a partnership, we're in this together. That, you know, my child is happy, my child is thriving. Is there going to be battles? Is there going to be uphill issues with him? Of course there is, with any kid. Yeah, they're learning, they're growing. But so far, I know that I've put him in the right place and he's on the right journey and on the path to success.
That's very kind. Thank you, Juka. And you know, what's more remarkable about me getting back to you that afternoon is afternoons are usually my nap time. So seriously though, I use this phrase with our faculty a lot, which is we're building the bridge as we cross it. Right? We know where we're going, but we don't know every step that we're taking. And therefore, we have to have a vision of the long term. And that's the same with our parents. We have a vision for where we want this school to be. We can't get there immediately. We can't get there overnight. But together, we can build something really meaningful together. And Nafi, over to you.
So I have a really mixed bag at home. Of my 3 children, I've got one that will never look back, one that always says to me, 50-50, mummy, and one who's just desperate to run as fast as he can. I need to give you a little bit of context to understand where they're coming from. My children came from a school that was on 80 acres of land. It had 10 tennis courts, 2 swimming pools, 2 rugby fields, a soccer field, a chapel, 4 car parks. You know, they have come from an environment where the first thing they do when they get to school is take their shoes off and run in a field. So that's been a massive adjustment for them. My 7-year-old is the one who really, really struggles with that. And for him, he can't fathom, he can't understand why I would have plucked him out of this. It basically looks like TASIS England, the school that they used to go to. Why I would pluck him out of this and pop him into essentially what he called a brick building. So for him, he's very much connected to nature. He is, you know, they had outdoor, and I know that in your early learning school, you do have outdoor learning areas, but every single classroom had access directly onto a field. So whenever a child was, you know, not paying attention, they'd be sent out. There were trampolines all over the school. It was 10 jumps and back at your desk kind of thing. So in terms of my 7-year-old, he is struggling. And for him, it's very much to do with this lack of space, He complains to me that there's only one field, it's across the road, only the bigger kids get to go there, we're not allowed to go without a teacher. But thankfully, Miss Marcus is there. If it wasn't for the school nurse, I think he would have run away by now. He's completely in love with her. He says she is the sweetest, nicest woman in the whole building. And Anna has actually stopped emailing me when my son goes to her, because she was emailing me 5 times a week to say, Anna was in here today. He sort of pops in every day to say hello. But so what I want to say to you, Keith, is that the unhappiness that I'm getting from one of my children has to be taken in context of, he's only 7. All he's ever known is this incredible 80-acre school. And now he's just completely confused about what on earth is going on. And, you know, one minute they're calling his mummy Nuffy, the next minute his mummy's Annabelle. He's like, I'm lost. What's going on? But seriously, my older son, my 11-year-old Sasha, he is in 7th heaven. He is thriving. He is learning so much more than he was. And Sophia in grade 4, the maturity, I mean, she's gone from being a little girl, from being a young lady in the space of 6 months rather, that we've been at the school. So there's lots and lots of positives. But yeah, I mean, you know, even for me as a parent, I sort of think, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to take the Supercore car park and turn it into a field? When are we ever going to have that environment where, you know, typically when I think of a school, that's what comes to mind. So that's a minus for us in our household.
Okay, well, thank you for your candid response, Nafi. I fear you didn't read the pre-conference notes, which said only positive commentary. However, I should have known better. Seriously, we're actually all in love with the school nurse. She's amazing, so it's not just your son. You know, schools need to serve many purposes. I came from a school that was on 300 acres and had playing fields for days, and I can tell you that the physical plant was exceptional. But there were a lot of unhappy kids at that school. And so we have to remember that that's a very important part of school, but it's not the most important part. At the same time, we need to find ways to expand our physical plant. We know that, and we're working on it. I was in a conversation with our board just tonight about that exact issue. So part of the challenge in converting a shopping center, of course, is you have an infrastructure that you have to deal with. And there's not a lot of available land, but we are working on that. And it was one of the only areas that came back in the parent survey where people felt it was less than satisfactory. So we're aware of it. I do take exception, though, when you said that school had 4 car parks. I mean, come on, couldn't have more car parks than we do.
But the car parks had trees all around them. You had to like drive in between the trees to fit your car in.
Sounds like a terrible experience. I've seen you drive, Matthew, so that must have been a challenge. All right. How we doing? We're you know what? I've got a bunch more questions, but I think maybe it's better if we open it up to the audience.
Keith, you're doing a great job because the questions have been getting answered, actually, that people have submitted. So I would say press on with your questions because people have responded, just answered. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've covered many of them that have to do with growing our community. Maybe we can talk a bit about the parent survey. We created that survey in very short notice. We wanted to get some feedback in our first 5 months about how we were doing. I've talked a little bit about it. I haven't released the full results. We're still assembling them. They're ready to go. We're hoping to put them on iSAMS tomorrow. And then you'll see the response average for each of the questions. Out of the 70 questions, I think all but a couple, the responses were between 3 and 4, which makes us feel like we're serving the needs of our parents. and the ones that weren't I've talked about. And there were a couple others to do with homework and assignments and assisting your children, which an average of 2 or 3 was better than an average of 4, because it would have meant you were giving a lot of help in those areas, which was not our intention. Anyway, maybe you can help us to design a better survey, or give us some commentary on the current survey, including whether it should be anonymous or not, because those were some of the comments we received back. So we'll go in reverse order: Nafi, Rita, and Juka.
So I haven't had any feedback regarding the survey, but you just touched on the exact thing I wanted to mention. I was really, really surprised when I saw that message go out about you having to explain why you were asking for names and why it wasn't anonymous. I particularly relish the opportunity to give my opinion and to, you know, I love the sound of my fingers tapping away on a keyboard, or the sound of my own voice as well. But in this case, it was a keyboard. The minute that survey came through, I completed it. I wrote down exactly what I thought, exactly how I felt, and I pressed send. And then a few hours later, I saw this message to say, oh, if you want to be anonymous, you know, do this, put X's in your name, etc. But we're not playing here, we're building. We are working together. And so the need for anonymity really confused me, because I thought, well, if you have an opinion, if there is something worth saying, then step forward, say it, work with us, build with us. I know that people probably have concerns about, you know, their children being victimized if they give bad commentary on a teacher. But I mean, have you met our teachers? Realistically, if you have sat down with these people, you would have to understand that that's just not a possibility. We are dealing with incredibly high-end professionals here. So I don't know if I don't want to offend anybody. I'll try to stay PC, but I just cannot understand why anybody would want to be holding back on their opinions. You are coming to us saying, tell it to me. What am I doing well? What am I doing badly? I mean, that's a golden opportunity. So that was my only comment, that I was really taken aback by this whole anonymous or not situation.
Thank you, Nafi. It was only after I sent the survey out that it occurred to me that people might want to be anonymous in it. And so I sent that out actually at the behest of one of our TPA members. There is a power imbalance that can exist in schools, and I think maybe parents were worried about the exact thing that you mentioned, which was maybe they're going to take it out on our children if we're honest and forthright. But I agree with you. I don't believe I hired anybody that would do that. Now, the headmaster, on the other hand, that's a different story. So, Rita?
Yes, I understand what Nafi's saying, and I also I would have no problem in putting my name, as I did, and answering straight away. But it's not only, people are different. So some people might have those concerns, and cultures are also different. And some people believe, and it's a bit true, that once you have a survey that it's anonymous, the results will be more accurate. It's not as if, in some ways, sometimes when people are behind the screen, they're more courageous and they say bad things they don't actually mean, or but that is not the case here. And I think also because it's their children. And it doesn't have to do with the teachers. We all know the teachers, and I think we all agree that Keith did a very good job on the choices that he has made, and we know them for all these months, and especially now with the e-learning, I love them even more, because what I see, what they do every morning, and the interaction and talking with all the children, I see all those little faces. Sometimes I see legs, I see arms, I see everything, and they get to catch them, and they to all, I feel it with all equally. They're really paying attention. But I think that's not the point. I think people maybe that also because of that, because they like them so much, or because they're so afraid that they might feel offended if you do a criticism, because we're all so different. I think it was a genuine concern that that was not felt in a way that they would not in that sense that they're not upfront or they are not genuine. I think it's a different concern, especially because also because it's their kids, and when it's about their kids, you don't want, you're so afraid that you need to protect them in all ways. Okay, that's it.
That's the point you make, Rita, about culture, and and we appreciate that. I'm the only one who has viewed the authors of any of the comments, and in fact, I took the names out, read all the comments, did the averages. Now I'm going back through because there were some comments that people wanted a response to or had a significant concern, only few, and I now have the ability to call that parent and say, I understand you're upset about this, let's talk about it, where I would not have been able to do that otherwise. And to their credit, they put the name to those comments, so it was helpful. Listen, I've been married for a long time. I can handle a lot of criticism, and I'm prepared for it. Juka, what's your feeling?
No, so I was the member of the TPA that basically fired an email out to Keith saying, you know, it's not anonymous. And I have no problem not putting my name to something. I have no problem standing up and speaking and saying what I feel and what I want and what I need. But I agree with Rita, it's a cultural thing. And being pretty much part Portuguese, I know that. And it's not only for Portuguese people, it's also for, you know, British people tend to be, you know, more reserved as well. So I just wanted to highlight that to you. And I think, again, you dealt with it brilliantly. You just put it out there and you said, okay, the survey is like this. And there will be different surveys, and there will be surveys that are going to be anonymous, and there will be surveys where, you know, we need to put your name to. And I think by explaining it again, why you wanted people to put their name, and again, that you're now able to go back, you've again tackled it, you know, because I was getting messages from people saying, it's not anonymous, you know, what are they going to do with this? So again, but as Rita said, it's a cultural thing. And I don't think it's only necessarily to do with kids. It's a cultural thing of, okay, people like to say things, but they don't necessarily want to be at the front of it. That's it.
That's all fair game, and I do appreciate it. Amy, we're getting close to the witching hour, 1 minute to 8.
Yeah, I just would like to read a comment that was sent in by a viewer who said, the location of the school determines how much land there might be available for fields, etc. We think due to the premier and established location of TASIS, it has that going against it. As the saying goes, you can't have it all. P.S. Our kids are waiting for the Mascot results.
Okay, well, thank you for the comment, and I'm not going to discuss Mascot right now because there's been a lot of recently about Mascot, so we're going to save that for the next assembly, which is 2 weeks tomorrow. So we'll hold you in suspense until then. I think what I'll do at this time then is call the evening to a close. I want to thank.
Juka has her hand up, Keith.
What?
Can I just say one thing, Keith? Well, first of all, you know, thank you for having us, and we could have easily gone on for another hour because all three of us like to talk and all have opinions. I just, you know, would like to reach out to, you know, the current parent community, and if there's any new parents out there this evening, you know, we're here. We have a lot of wonderful ideas planned. You know, the educational committee, you know, last night was their first event. You know, they have other events up their sleeves. The PIRC committee is desperate to have parents who are willing to be buddy families, would like to have, you know, parents who are wanting to speak to prospective parents. So if you're interested in that, again, get in touch. You know, we'll put stuff in the newsletter, and every week we tend to have stuff in the newsletter. So please do read the newsletter, because we do actually put stuff in there that's, you know, that's interesting. You know, the dining committee is doing amazing things. The celebrations committee has got a whole list of things, you know, ready to go. So we're here. We've got lots of ideas. If you want to get involved, please do get involved. Sorry, Keith. Thank you.
No, that was well done. Thank you, Zhuka. And I might as well also extend the last word to both Rita and Nafi. I know it's unlikely Nafi will take it, but I'll offer it to her all the same. Oh, Rita, sorry, your camera's on.
Sorry, and I was muted. Sorry. I just wanted to say, and I just had this idea. I didn't have a chance to go through it with Zhuka or with anyone in the TPA. But Keith, I don't want to be rude anymore to you. So I will finally invite you to come to Sintra. And so we're going to organize one of the events here, okay, for the whole school, okay? We'll do something here on the Sintra Mountains, okay? And that way you won't be able to tell me that I'm a rude person anymore, okay?
I would never say that about you, Rita, that you're rude. I don't think I implied
No, because
that.
I never invited you. And I want you over.
No, and I appreciate it, but I would rather come over by myself.
Not with the other parents?
No other parents. No, just for me to enjoy the luxurious surroundings.
Oh, you want to come by yourself? Okay, I'll leave and let you in. Okay,
Yeah,
then.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No, I just want to finish this thing that it was a pleasure, and I think we're gonna this parent community is gonna have great days ahead. This pandemic is gonna end soon, and we're gonna resume to our normal lives, and we're gonna have not only be on the beautiful campus you have that will grow like we all wish, and we'll do many great events and many things together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rita. Happy?
Obviously, I'd like to thank you for inviting me on here. I think it was really brave of you to ask me to come on. But really, I want to just say to any parents who are out there sitting going, this sounds really cool. I'm very interested. What do I do? How do I get my voice heard? Everybody should know who their class rep is. It's the person on your WhatsApp group who predominantly sends through the messages that seem to come, official messages from the school. If you want to find us, if you want to find Zhuka or Laura or any of us, or if you in fact don't know which one of us you should be talking to, just go to your class rep, message them directly, say, I want to talk about lost property, or I want to talk about food, or whatever it is, and your class rep will put you in touch with the correct member, the correct committee member. And that's what we're here for, to hear from you, to help you, to relay your messages, and where appropriate, to put you forward to be the one who's doing the work. So please don't just sit there thinking, okay, there are these like 8 or 9 people on the front line and they're doing everything. We want to hear from you. We want your involvement. We want to walk this path together. And I really foresee that this is going to be an incredible journey. So thanks very much, everybody, for listening to us.
No, thank you, Nafi or Rafi or Annabella or whatever passport you're using these days. Please remind Ranjay that I have his yearbook. I'm finished with it. I've made my way through all this salacious commentary. It was very enjoyable and entertaining, so he can have it back. Seriously, I want to thank all of our guests this evening. What a talented, intelligent, generous, loyal group of parents. We're blessed to have you as part of our family. And Rita and Nafi, you have single-handedly restored my faith in lawyers. So thank you both again for that.
And Keith, may I just add that some of their fellow founding parents have written in to say big thank yous. Clara writes, I would like to extend a big thank you to the TPA on behalf of the parents. And Natasha, says wonderful session. Thank you so much. And, lots of kudos and thanks to the TPA for everything that you're doing thus far.
Beautifully said, and thank you for all of your support to all of our parents. It appears we're going to have a very quiet carnival week. There's nothing like a vacation at home, I always say. I know our teachers are looking forward to catching up on their sleep, and our students are looking forward to another week indoor with their parents. And parents, please try to enjoy this time if you can. As a parent of older children, I would really love to spend a week with them right now. I mean, certainly not more than a week and not including a weekend, but still 5 days would be lovely. And if it's any consolation, I spent part of my evenings this week assisting my own college-age son with his homework. So there you go. For some of you, this will all be over in just a few decades. I'm going to finish with a quote from Marcus Aurelius. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this, you have the power to revoke at any moment. Please be safe. Enjoy the time between until we meet again. That'll be February 25th. Take good care, and thank you again. Good evening.